With the Big 12 pod today being the Four Corners, which is the four new schools, a happy Utah, not a really kind of grumpy, I guess you could say, Arizona, and then two teams that feel really good about themselves, and they should, with Colorado and also Arizona State. Let's start with Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham and his football team, what a great run it's been. They won a game. They won without Scatterbo and looked good doing it. Of course, Levitt played very, very well. And let's start with Arizona State. 7-2 on the year, and also in the mix at 4-2 in the Big 12.
Yeah, Kenny Dillingham is probably it's going to come down to him and Kalani Sitake for my Coach of the Year vote because
ahead of Deion too.
Yeah, I mean
that's going to be
it's going to be tough.
Sitake will win it if he runs the tape.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But Kenny Dillingham deserves a lot of that too, and they're going into a big spot this week. Kansas State needs to win this to keep pace. Arizona State needs to win this to keep pace. So now you've got a game that nobody thought was going to be a major thing for the conference here now in the last month. And it has huge implications if these teams want to be in it. And Arizona State obviously would have to sneak in. But at this point now with Kansas State's record, they've got to sneak in too. So it's kind of anybody's game. And happy to see these games mean something late in the season, especially for teams that we didn't think it would.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the big block kick, and Hughes getting rewarded for that with the Big 12 weekly honors. So that was a pivotal moment. But Sam Levitt as well, just really great. Glad he's healthy. He makes a huge difference for them. And to not have Cam Scatterbo, as you guys mentioned, was obviously huge going into this game. I mean, battle of two of the Big 12's better rushing teams, but a big missing piece in the guy for the Sun Devils. And he was out there supporting his team and looked like he was doing okay. I don't think we're going to not see him the rest of the season by any stretch, but just this game he wasn't available, and with the toll he's taken and the amount of carries he's gotten, I guess it shouldn't be very surprising, but I guess what was surprising was how well Arizona State managed that, which is a testament to Kenny Dillingham, because so much of their focus has been just on Scatterbo kind of carrying this offense, Levitt doing a little bit here and there, but Jordan Tyson, a guy that now deserves a lot of love and some attention. He's been a very solid receiver for them this year. He's a Texas kid, and he's got a really nice little pairing going on right now with Sam Levitt. There's some trust there, and Tyson's delivering. So he came in clutch on Saturday with a couple big scores, some big catches, and I think you can add him to Levitt and Scatterbo in terms of just when you're kind of eyeing Arizona State and their weapons. So he came up big along with Levitt in that regard, and I just think it was a great win against a team who played actually pretty well. I mean, 31 points, I don't think you're going to feel too bad about scoring that many points in any given game. I think you'll feel pretty good about your chances to win, but Arizona State was just a touch better, and that's one of the better stories in the Big 12, as you guys mentioned. So here they are. They've easily attained bowl eligibility. They've blown past that now at this point. It's a matter of how many games are they going to win, and quite frankly, they're not out of the Big 12 title hunt. I know everybody says, well, there's 11 teams are still technically – there's no technically about Arizona State. Arizona State's in that sucker. They just need a little bit of help and to keep winning, and they will be in that game. But they're right there on the door knocking right now. Having said that, you've got to go to Kansas State. So, there will be a test to kind of see if you're still there on the other side of that. But
hey, win this one, then Kansas State wins Farmageddon, and that's something that benefits you tremendously, especially if you went out and you're sitting there at 10-2 at the end of the year, and you don't know what's going to happen, with the rest of it. So and you've got BYU still too, right? They've got BYU
they got
still,
BYU as well. I mean, they've got an interesting schedule coming up. They have Arizona, the rivalry game at the end of the year in Tucson, but I don't think you're really sweating that much, and you're not thinking about it at all with the two games you have coming up, especially K-State on the road. So that'll be a huge test. I think that'll be a really fun matchup, though. I'm really looking forward to that one, and I'm just uber impressed by the Sun Devils, and I'm a big believer in Kenny Dillingham and the direction he has this program going. So, yeah, they're sitting in a really nice spot right now. Well, and that was a nice win.
No, it was a heck of a win, and to do it with Levitt stepping up when they needed him the most. So there's one.
And he's young, too, and one of the things Dillingham said was –
got 3 years left, right?
Yeah. Dillingham rallying he definitely delivers his messages. He called out the home crowd, or not called out, but he's kind of said, guys, we need you this weekend. when they were playing UCF. And, he's kind of had to kind of push a little bit here and there. And one of the things he pushed this past week is Sam Levitt needs some NIL deals. Yes, he did. I mean, he wants to keep him around, right? He's a young quarterback, and if they don't do it, somebody else is bound to, as much as quarterbacks are in need. So, yeah, Sun Devil supporters, you need to go line up those NIL deals, try to get Sam Levitt some cash because he's playing pretty well right now, and he's definitely part of your future.
Absolutely. I did not know. I didn't know he made that comment. Good for him, trying to be proactive rather than reactive. So there's one of the four corners. The other one, red hot, 3 straight wins. Colorado, 5-1. Just a game back of BYU in the Big 12 championship race. And 7-2. They're not just bowl eligible like Arizona State. They're like Iowa State, Kansas State. They're in. They're going to go to a bowl game. Now the question is what kind of bowl game? And I thought that Colorado going into Lubbock, Texas Tech started well. They weathered the storm. The offense was kind of like, Texas Tech's defense was creating some problems. And then they got a touchdown drive. And then after that, they just took off, a jet engine, so to speak. And whenever there was a drive that they needed a little extra, they came up with that little extra. They are on a 3-game winning streak, and Colorado is a red-hot football team.
Yeah, I should mention also the Arizona State, they are right there knocking on the door of the top 25. I just wanted to pass that along because that's of note. Also, Colorado's played really well, and they've been a great story this year. But that was really impressive to go out to Lubbock and get a win against a feisty Texas Tech team. Shedeur played really well, obviously. The defense continues to play well. I mean, that's no mirage, and I think that's been clear, but it's crystal clear now that defense is an every week test for whoever they're playing, and not just some flash in the pan early in the season. But, they're still trying to get Travis Hunter his touches, his carries. He delivered. He had the big touchdown catch from Shedeur in this one in the second half as they started to really grab hold of that lead, but did not start off well. Texas Tech jumped out to the type of lead that you like, 13-0, and then Colorado just slowly but surely fought their way back, and the big capper was obviously there at the very end, the big celebration with Shiloh just putting a stamp on the thing with the big fumble return for a touchdown that just completely iced it. Mata, their kicker's been really good. I mean, they're just a good team. They got good weapons. They've got good offense, good defense, good special teams. They're a good team. Yeah,
you brought up the kicker. He's had some clutch kicks during this stretch, and there was one, I don't know if it put him up by 9 or what it was, but it was like a 40-plus yard field goal. He nailed it right down the gut, so he's been good. It just takes to have kicking problems, and you just never know. But he's solid as a rock.
Yeah, he had a couple big kicks in this game, and I think, obviously there was the to-do about the roughing the passer and all of that, but give Colorado credit. They were down 13-0, stormed back and won that game, and now they got Utah, and I just don't see any scenario imaginable where Utah scores enough points to win that game. I mean, I think the defense can make things a little bit interesting, but they're not going to make this like a 14-10 game like they've kind of had to try to do in some others. And so I don't love Utah's chances here. So Colorado is staring 8-2 straight in the face so long as they go out and execute. The one thing they did, though, towards the end of that game, they started getting way too over their skis. There was 7 minutes left. They're acting like the game's over with. And there's 15-yard penalties flying, and they're giving Tech life. And I'm sitting there going like, dude.
Hey, it's 7 minutes and you can't run the ball.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. Like, that is where, and like I do think what Phil Bennett said earlier about Deion kind of reining in the hot dog nature of the team. He's done a good job of that, but that's also like his DNA that's in there. That's it's like I guess when you see your kids have one of your qualities that they can't control just yet. That's what they have to do, because now if they could turn around and hand the ball off and take 4 minutes off of a clock on a drive for sure. They don't. They can't do that. It's big plays.
They had penalties. There was also one that was just inexcusable. They just made really bad mistakes down the stretch that really could have cost them the game. They were able to survive. They got to clean that up. And you could see that Deion was perturbed on the sideline with that too. All right, so there's Colorado. And they've got big noon coming in that game on Saturday, 11 o'clock against Utah. Now let's go to two teams that are in a free fall. Let's start with the team that helped bring some drama to the Big 12 weekend, Utah. And we've discussed Mark Harlan, AD. As far as I'm concerned, that's over. It's done. As far as I'm concerned, the loss to BYU will be hard for them to forget, but that's done. Utah, 1-5. If Oklahoma State at 0-7 is shocking, Utah at 1-5 is pretty damn shocking as well. And they now get to go into Boulder, like you said earlier, and now try to get in a game that might be a shootout.
I just don't see any scenario where Utah scores enough points here. I don't care how well the defense plays. It would have to be like a 7-3 style game, because that's about all I can see Utah mustering offense. It's horrific to watch them play offense. I mean, horrific's maybe too strong of a word. Maybe not if you're a Utah fan, but it's just not enjoyable. That was like watching pulling teeth, and I do give BYU's defense some of the credit, but I've also seen enough Utah now to know that's not exclusive to BYU by any stretch. I don't know how you were so woefully underprepared for the possibility that Cam Rising could get hurt. I know we had a bunch of quarterbacks. No one ready, though. Like, no one clearly ready. You've gone from Wilson now to Rose. Rose did some okay to nice things, but, like, they could just not string anything really together in the second half, and that cost them. And a 1-point clock running out loss. Do something, anything on offense. A field goal wins you the game, and you could not do even that. And so it's just hard to watch. Their defense is pretty good.
One more first down might have done it.
Yeah, like it's a first down. Like that, and that's the thing. Like, you know, the teams that are bad on offense, when just getting a first down feels like it's like a freaking like triumph.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, of course I do too, because I'm watching Oklahoma right now. So, like, just to get a first down, you're like, oh, my God. Oh, like, oh, crap, they need, like, 3 more of those. This is impossible. That's what watching Utah is like right now. Defense was good, is good, but they had some real breakdowns. Give BYU credit for that as well. Some guys running free. And they had the big play at the end. I mean, that is what it is. We've talked about it as a brutal loss. I think another loss is coming in Boulder. And it's just a year where – chalk it up to whatever you want to, but it's a very forgettable one, and most people are looking forward to 2025. The question is, what does that even look like? Because it could look drastically different from whatever we're watching right now.
Yeah, God, what a bad loss, and what a miserable season it's been. Who's had a more miserable season? Utah? Well, expectation, well, it's got to be Oklahoma State, right? It's got to be Oklahoma State.
No, I think they're living the same life.
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah. I think they're like, you know, look, if you were at like a grief counseling session, you know, and everybody in that session is going through the same thing, and that's kind of, if you're to, oh, my team really sucks and we can't win a conference game, or quarterbacks keep getting hurt, or they're ineffective, or the star players aren't. Utah and Oklahoma State would be like, yeah, man, you're my sponsor. Like that's how it's gonna be. You're gonna be my buddy. That's how it would work.
Here's the other thing: Utah had Micah Pittman leave the team, which isn't like life-changing by any means, but you know, they're starting to get into that period now where it's all about like just break it down, and you know the build-up's coming. It's just a matter of who's going to be in charge of the build-up. Is going to be Kyle Whittingham, or is going to be Morgan Scalley? Who's the quarterback moving forward? Like all these different things. I saw another post like BYU cheer coach got hit in the head with a bottle of water. Like it's just, this is a bad weekend for Utah football, just in every way, shape, and form. And you can go wash the taste out of your mouth against Colorado, but again, I just have a hard time seeing how they're going to be able to keep that game relatively close and score enough.
It's amazing, the field storming. We've seen that a few times, and that kind of gets to be contagious around the country. But the amount of things being thrown onto the field,
it's crazy.
From what happened in Austin to what happened in recently,
LSU over the weekend.
Yeah, LSU. Thank you, Garrett. To what happened at the end of the game with bottles and things being thrown at the officials as they're running into the tunnel after the Utah BYU game. It's not going to stop until there's enough of a fine or something that makes it costly.
Well, did you watch Joey McGuire take the microphone in the middle of a heated point of that game and have to tell the fans to stop throwing crap on the field? And Deion's like, hey, I had to do that like last week or whenever it was. So like a bunch of people have had to deal with that. Colorado, Texas Tech, Utah. But yeah, it does seem like it's happened way more this year. Like way more this year than it's happened in any other year I can remember. Like not even close.
And just like every bad thing that happened on planet Earth, it started in Austin, Texas.
Yeah. Well, they did get the benefit of that, actually.
Yes.
So you wondered if,
exactly,
you know.
I mean, it was.
Paxton,
it is true.
do not text me. Text Paul. I'll give you his number.
I mean, that's
Absolutely
just facts,
not.
though. That's facts. Like, they threw the water bottles and got what they wanted out of it, except for the result. But, I mean, yeah, I don't blame them. Obviously, Paul's sort of joking, but that has happened a lot more this year. And we can just rattle off the places. If you give me, like, previous 10 years' name, I don't know. But this year I can name a handful quickly.
I just think that fans in general and people in general just really don't care. I think that they just lose their mind, and maybe they excited about seeing their face or whatever on some sort of social media. Yeah, or maybe that, or TikTok, or whatever it might be. Okay, so Utah, they're miserable. And Arizona, they're miserable. They're going to play a Friday night at home against Houston. That game is on FS1. That's a very late kick, 9:15 the kick. And Arizona, they had the off week, I believe, didn't they? Yeah. They lost 5 straight prior to the off week. They're terrible. They're 3-6. They play Houston at home. They're giving up a lot of points per game. 41-34, 31-56 their last 5 games. Their defense is terrible. They lost the money man on the defense as far as the energy to Texas, and they are in a free fall too.
Well, yeah, they lost their defensive coordinator to Texas, and then they lost, some younger players along the way. They didn't think enough to make too much of a difference, and the defense is actually okay, but they've been riddled with injuries. And at this point, I mean, does it even matter what it is? They just are not relevant. They are an afterthought, really, in the big picture. And I'm not trying to say that, too many other teams are just so high above them by any means, but what do you think the first thing that was talked about when you're looking at Willie Fritz talking about Arizona? Let's go ahead and get out of the way. Hey, that Fafita McMillan kid, they're really good, right? Like, we know that. That's about all there is to say about Arizona, though. And that's all anyone said about Arizona all year long, because the only other thing is injuries and defense, and then the changes from last year, which no one on that side of things really seemed to feel like that was going to be too big of a deal. It obviously was. But regardless, Brent Brennan, maybe it's also that he's not the guy. There's certainly a sentiment there.
There is.
They're definitely going to lose Fafita and McMillan after this season. McMillan to the pros, and then Fafita I could see getting any number of big-time Division I offers to go play, at Miami and replace Cam Ward or something. I could easily see him doing something like that. So I don't know. They've been an afterthought when they were a team that you thought would be in the top handful of programs that could maybe make a run at the title because of those two guys. And instead, it's been a lot of issues outside of those two, and even at times those two they can't be Superman all the time, basically, right? So they have been at times, and it still hasn't been enough. It's just been a wash of a year. And I think all the questions now are about what happens with, Fafita in particular, and then, what is the stomach for Brent Brennan long term? We'll find out here very, very soon.
Yeah, do you realize that continuity is a big deal? You may not always have a team in the top 25, but continuity is a big deal. And for them to go through another coaching change and staff change could be a spark, and it also could just send them right down the terrible road.
They could technically still make a bowl game. I just think the odds are extremely low. At home against Houston, that's a winnable game, but that defense is really going to test Fafita, McMillan, and this ought to be a real ugly game from that standpoint, because Houston's offense is obviously not something to write home about either. So this could really be a dirty little fight where it's just a matter of who pops a couple of plays, and that's been Houston's MO of late. They've been successful with that. All right.